Underneath this plastic bag is a transmission that probably cost more than my car. How's it going, everyone? My name is Ed, and in this video I'm going to show you 5 different manual trans options that you can install inside of your Lexus SC400 and maybe your Lexus SC300. But if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you like it. Subscribe if you like what you see. All right, so as you can see, we have quite the lineup here. There is one trans missing. I'm going to show you guys at the end of the video. Have it in a nice secret secure location. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to touch on the things that you're going to need for converting your automatic over to a manual. I'm not going to really go into the details of all the different clutch and flywheel options that you have for these different transmissions, but just keep that in the back of your mind that when you're piecing this together in your head, that you're obviously going to need a clutch, a flywheel. You have to think about the cross member, how that's going to bolt the trans into the trans tunnel, and your drive shaft. Okay, the only thing that's probably going to be the same is your clutch pedals. This is not a clutch pedal for the SC300. This is just a clutch pedal and brake pedal that I have from a different car, and maybe your clutch master cylinder, but everything else is going to be different depending on which transmission you go with. That being said, let's go ahead and jump in with the first trans, which I've already mentioned earlier, is a W58. Now this is a pretty good option as far as price goes. You can probably find these on your local Facebook market, as these came out of MK3s and MK4s, non-turbo Toyota Supras and SC300s. So you have those options. They also came in a couple of trucks, though I'm not quite sure which trucks they came out of. But these are known as the W series transmissions. And as far as like the parts that you need, like the drive shaft and the cross members, you can find those that will actually bolt into your Lexus SE chassis. These transmissions, one thing to keep in mind is that they're not really known for high horsepower applications. They have kind of a reputation of being very fragile. So what that looks like as far as metrics goes, the number is around 350-ish horsepower. After that, you tend to might be asking for trouble. So for example, this is my red Lexus SC300. It is an NAT build. I made 340 horsepower at the rear wheels, and I'm really happy with that so far. And I don't plan on making any more power than that until I find a stronger transmission. But so far it's been very good. It's held up very nicely, and I haven't had any issues, thankfully. Now, as far as how much it would cost to complete a swap with the W58, I would estimate with everything that you need, depending on how much you can get this trans for and all the bits and pieces, you can probably get away with completing everything for under $3 grand. Now, if you're planning on making a little bit more horsepower and you want something a little bit stronger, these next couple of transmissions that I'm going to be talking about are options definitely worth looking into, like the R154 and AR5 trans. The AR5 trans is basically a modern day R154 because there's a little bit more involved in getting that to work in your SC300 and SC400. Like, you have to go into modifying the tail housing and do a bunch of stuff that I really don't want to get into. I'm only going to be focusing on the R154. That being said, the R154, those came out of the US version of the MK3 Toyota Supra, the turbo edition, of course, and those are known as the non-tripod style early transmissions. They also came in the Toyota Sora and many other JDM cars, which I'm not really familiar with off the top of my head right now. But the later model R154 trans are known as the tripod style transmissions. The good news is if you're feeling a little fancy and you want to buy these transmissions brand new, you still can buy them new from Drift Motion. The bad news is they're not cheap. They're not cheap new, and they're definitely not cheap used. They usually fetch for anywhere between $1,800 and up. All in, these trans are pretty good for, I want to say, maybe a little bit over 500 horsepower safely and reliably. Of course, they're a 5-speed transmission. And the good news is that you can do things like take the front half of an MK3 Toyota Supra drive shaft and bolt it to the rear half of an SC300, and that will work perfectly fine as a drive shaft in your SC400 or SC300. So after your R154, another option that you have is the very popular CD009 transmission. This is a 6-speed transmission that came out of the 350Z. Of course, I am talking about the later model CD series trans, okay? The earlier editions, they had issues where they weren't as strong. All I know is that later models, some guys, they're making over 800 horsepower on these trans and they're not having any issues with them whatsoever. Now, the good news is that there's a lot of supportive aftermarket support for these adapter kits. For example, Collins is a big, huge supplier of the Collins adapter kit, and that basically comes with every single thing you need to get that to be installed inside of your SC300 or SC400, 1UZ or 2JZ. And once it's all said and done, this is going to come down to how much you can get the transmission for. Similar to the R154, brand new, these transmissions are about $2,000. You can find them used for about $1,000. I would probably say expect a budget between $3,000 to $4,000 when it's all said and done. All right, so let's talk about these two transmissions here. Now, one is really clean, one is really dirty, and these are two options that you can use for your SC400 and maybe your SC300. I'm pretty sure you can use this in your SC300. To my right, you have a get rag transmission out of a BMW E30. That's like a 325i or 325is. This is a 5-speed transmission. This is probably not the transmission you're going to want to go with because it's not as strong as this transmission. Now, I don't know how much power this can take. I probably would guess maybe around the same horsepower that this can take, which is about 350, maybe a little bit more. Somebody's going to correct me in the comment section. But this transmission, this is a ZF transmission out of an E36 M3. I want to say this is the ZF G320. This is a 5-speed transmission. This basically can handle, I want to say, around 550 horsepower. And the good news about pricing is you could start off with something like this where you can find these for $200-300 and then maybe upgrade later down the road to something like this because they do have the same bolt pattern. Okay, this trans here is probably going to cost you maybe around the neighborhood of $500-600. I've seen people are starting to catch on to these trans and they're trying to ask for a little bit more money, and the community just continues to clown them whenever they ask for like $800-900. So just keep that in mind. But as of the making of this video, you can still find these for about $600. The only thing I have not been able to figure out with these trans are stuff like your drive shaft option. I'm sure there's things that you can go with here, but like you will need like an adapter there to convert that to something, or maybe an adapter on your diff to convert this to whatever that would be. I mean, it's going to have to be 100% custom. Same thing with your cross member. I don't really know what you're going to need to get that to work in here. I haven't been able to find any solution for that, so I'm thinking it's all going to be custom. But if somebody can figure that out, please share it in the comment section, and yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. This next option may come as a surprise for some of you or most of you, as I was pretty surprised to even find out about this trans. It's probably not going to be a popular option, and one that you're probably never going to be even considering in the back of your mind, but I'm going to show you just because it is an option and I have it here to show you. And here it is. Now, this has some cobwebs inside from just sitting in storage, but what are you looking at is a 5-speed manual transmission out of a RX-7 FD. Okay, now I don't know as far as the specs goes on this. All I know is that PMC Motorsports, they make an adapter kit for this with a flywheel, and I want to say you're pretty much going to be on your own as far as sourcing a drive shaft, and similar to the BMW Trans, right? You're going to need to find a cross member, drive shaft, all that good stuff. And yeah, this transmission, I don't really know how much power or torque this is good for. I'm not sure how much they even go for price wise, as I can't find any of these used, but I would just assume and imagine that whoever decides to post these trans for sale, they're probably not going to be cheap. I would expect this to probably be around the same price as an R154 or a CD009, probably in the neighborhood of maybe $1,500 to $2,000, maybe more, give or take. Now, as I've already mentioned, this is probably not going to be a popular option for you. This is probably going to be for the person that's kind of similar to me, that for whatever reason has an FD-RX-7 5-speed manual transmission lying around for a RX-7 FD project that I may or may not be working on ish. But yeah, aside from that, this is not an option that I would recommend, as you have plenty of other options that are probably going to be more budget friendly and more suitable for your application. So let's recap. So far we've talked about the W58, R154, CD009, the BMW transmissions, and the RX-7 transmission. Those are the 5 trans that I was able to show you, most of them. and basically give you guys a quick high level of what you would need to install in your car. As far as the list of trans goes, there's 2 more trans that I want to share with you. As while I'm at it, I might as well talk about them. Basically, let's consider the first couple trans I talked about, the $4,000-ish and under budget, okay? If you guys have that kind of money, these are the trans that you probably can do for around that price point, depending on how much you can find those transmissions for. These next transmissions, they're gonna be way above that, okay? The first trans I'm gonna talk about is the T56 option, as that's gonna be more affordable than the next trans I'm gonna talk about after. The T56 option, I don't know what I would do to put this in a 1UZ. I'm pretty sure you can find an adapter plate and some sort of kit, but I'm thinking Grannis is probably gonna be your best option, as they have a drive shaft. They have they have what? Your drive shaft, your cross member, clutch. I mean, they have pretty much everything you need, except you're probably gonna need a different flywheel. Again, I'm not really sure how to piece that kit together, but I do know Grannis, with a brand new transmission, they sell the kit starting at $5,000, and I don't even think that includes a clutch. I think their cheapest clutch is probably another $500 on top of that. And yeah, when it's all said and done, you're probably gonna be at over $6 grand-ish if you wanna go the T56 route. And the last option that we're gonna talk about is one that I would consider the holy grail of transmissions, okay? This is like a unicorn, if you will. In fact, this transmission, I don't even know if I wanna share it with you guys, that I have this in my possession. And I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys this. All right, so here it is. Underneath this plastic bag is a transmission that probably cost more than my car, okay? This transmission right now is very desirable and very rare, and in fact, they don't even make parts for this transmission anymore. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and pull this off. And here it is. Can anybody guess what this is? This right here is a V160 transmission out of a Toyota Supra. This is a 6-speed transmission, and these are going for a lot of money right now. Now, I'm not going to go into too much details as to what I'm going to be using this for, because I really don't know yet. But this transmission is a very, very nice option if you have one. It's probably not a necessary option, as you have plenty of other more affordable options. But these transmissions are known for their strength, they're known for their durability, and I do know guys that have Supras, they will take these trans out of their car and try to sell them to go T56. Some guys would actually take them out and save them just because they're worth so much money. But yeah, this is the last option here that I just wanted to show you guys. So this is pretty much going to wrap the video up. If you've made it this far and you like what you saw, make sure you hit the like button for me. It'll help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as I mentioned earlier, I am selling my W58 5-speed swap, and I really don't know which trans option I want to go with. So leave a comment in the comment section if there's a trans that you guys think I should have mentioned that I missed, that I should be looking into, or if there's something that you want to see me install, like the CD009 or the R154, just let me know in the comment section. This is Ed signing off. Until next time, peace.